Namaste everyone, and thank you for joining in this video. So this is about aspects, okay, of Mercury. You know, we've already done aspects of the Sun, the Moon. We've done Mars. Okay, so there is a two video series which covers aspects of Mars. Now we have the aspects of Mercury. Okay, and what does it indicate? All right. So as we know, Mercury, it represents the intellectual mind, the thinking mind, that is. And it is a planet of intellectual conversations, okay, communications, marketing, ideas, and logic. All right. And Mercury also represents your, your writing and verbal abilities. Okay. And Mercury is the eternal learner. Okay. It is the planet of curiosity. And when it aspects a house, it becomes very, very curious about, what that house represents, about learning, about the traits of that house due to its personality. Okay. And Mercury is also the planet of communication. So it will try to, whichever house it aspects, it will try to communicate. That means the person will try to communicate using the, using the qualities and attributes of that house, if I could put it that way. Okay. So we'll cover all the houses of Mercury from 1 to 12, right? So Mercury in the first house, right? When Mercury is in the first house, it looks directly at the seventh house of marriage, okay, spouse, legal partnerships, and other people. And in the first house, the presence of Mercury makes the native's personality and physical self all about communication and ideas. Okay, these are the people who will never look old. Okay, even after a certain age, they will still retain their youthful look. Okay, and they are always jumping from one idea to the next. And in the first house, Mercury actually brings great analytical abilities, business skills, and communicative abilities. Okay. As I said, these people maintain a youthful look throughout their entire life, even after being old. And apart from that, they actually love interacting with young people and children. Okay. And, we know that Mercury is very logical, very analytical, as well as, it has a way of looking at things critically. So if Mercury is in any earth sign in the first house, it'll look at life, or rather look into life with great detail. Okay. And Mercury's aspect in the seventh house, it allows the native to meet people who are just as curious and communicative as they are. Okay. So what happens is, Mercury in the first house wants to explore the seventh house of relationships, but then there are certain qualities that they look for in a relationship. They will always look for a partner who is intelligent and is a good communicator. Okay. And these people, they don't want to have boring conversations with people because they love people. Okay. And they try to bring out the best in whoever they meet. All right. And because the seventh house is the house of business, they always want to land up in some kind of a business rather than doing a job. Okay. But then it'll also make a native very flirtatious. Okay. These are the people who can actually flirt for ice cream. All right. And because of their flirtatious nature, they'll tend to have many relationships, okay, before settling down, because Mercury is also a planet which loves variety. Okay. So it'll tend to try out different kinds of people in a relationship before actually settling down with someone else. All right. So next we have Mercury in the second house. So in the second house, Mercury aspects the eighth house. Okay, what is the eighth house? It represents your joint assets, your the secrets, in-laws, occult, and taxes. Okay, the second house represents wealth, family, speech, your saved money. Okay, and because because Mercury is present in the second house, it tends to be very much attached to the to the home, and having a very open and communicative household. These are the people who would want their spouse, or who would want their mothers to talk to them constantly. Okay. And eighth house is also the house of money management. Okay. So these people, they're very good with their money and family assets. Okay, because assets are seen from the second house. And since Mercury is the karaka of speech, so in the house of speech, it gives a natural flair for public speaking, or maybe teaching, singing, political speeches and businesses. Okay, these people are very, very curious about about money and family lineage. All right. And because the second house is, is the house of finance, so if Mercury is present in Virgo or maybe in an earth sign, it can actually make a person, it can give profession as an accountant or into, into the finance, into the financial world, that is. Okay. So many bankers will have this combination. And in the second house, from the second house, rather, Mercury aspects the eighth house. And, eighth house being the house of money management. So these people are excellent in managing money, and they have a lot of curiosity, regarding whatever things are hidden from them. Okay. And because Mercury is the most talkative one, so the native will always want to have a conversation about, about closely guarded secrets of occult, of tantra, okay, that no one likes to, or no one knows about, okay, that no one likes to talk about, or rather no one knows about. And they have a lot of curiosity about the secrets of the world, and curiosity regarding the sexual life of others. Okay. And these are the people who enjoy discussing these topics with others. Okay. And if Mercury is negative, it can actually make the native prone to negative gossip. Okay. And these people will also have a keen interest in writing and communicating about closely guarded secrets of the world. Okay. And these are also people who are very fond of conspiracy theories. Okay. So third house is one of the best places for Mercury to be, because third house is the house of skills, and Mercury is a very skillful planet. Okay. Apart from this, Mercury in the third house, it will aspect the ninth house of higher learning. Okay. It will aspect the ninth house of gurus, religion, ritual, and philosophy. And Mercury in the third house, it gives career in the media, performing arts. Okay. It allows people to take up multiple skills and hobbies at the same time. It can also give a career in journalism and sales. Okay. And third house is the original house of Mercury, because it is ruled by Gemini. So with this placement, the native actually gets several ideas surrounding books or sculpting or painting and even reporting. Okay. Because why? Mercury wants to gather information in this house. Okay. And Mercury always finds his interest in sales and marketing, and wants to communicate with others about the current status of the market or the community. Okay. And this placement of Mercury also produces, comedians and, mimic artists. Okay. Because, Mercury is the karaka for mimicking. If you have a strong Mercury, you will be able to mimic others. Okay. And apart from that, in this position in the third house, Mercury actually becomes a natural businessman who wants to, who wants to deal with people and do a lot of short distance travels for business purpose. Okay. But then this is applicable only when Mercury is, well placed. If Mercury is debilitated in Pisces, then these tasks will become complicated. Okay. And the person or the native will feel very, very overburdened unless and until there is a Neech Bhangraj Yoga. Right. And but then we have seen many poets, writers, and artists, they have a debilitated Mercury. Okay. So debilitated Mercury is not really the problem, because Mercury in the third house will anyways provide a very limitless imagination. Okay. Now from this third house, Mercury will actually aspect the ninth house. So the native tends to be very curious about, about infusing higher philosophical knowledge into whatever they have learned, into their skills, into their sales acumen. Okay. These people love marketing and creating businesses because they have a higher purpose. Okay. And higher education and knowledge can transform their artistic and literary skills. So what happens is this aspect can actually make them a natural preacher of arts and the media. Okay. These people are the ones who love being in the company of gurus and teachers who can actually help them gain knowledge and independence. Okay. And because Mercury is the karaka, it's very logical. All right. So, Mercury uses its logic to access divine intelligence. Okay. So what it does is that it creates a brilliant communicator who knows how to make esoteric knowledge available, or, who loves to make esoteric knowledge appear sensible to others. Okay. So next we have Mercury in the fourth house. So the fourth house is not a very good placement for Mercury to be. Some people consider it to be the Marankaran Sthan of Mercury. Okay, but then Mercury in the fourth house aspects the 10th house of career, status, government, all right, and the teachings of the father. So Mercury in the fourth house of of home, of homeland, of motherland, of conveyance, it brings tremendous intellectual interest in matters related to home. Okay, so usually the mothers of these natives are very good communicators. Okay, I've seen people with fourth house Mercury whose mothers have been intellectual teachers. Okay, so these people, they have a constant need for education and a constant need about about learning about one's own homeland. Okay, and you know they often crave for communication within the home, just like Mercury in the second house. And if Mercury is damaged or it is debilitated, it can actually make someone move in and out of move change houses frequently. Okay, and these people, they make excellent teachers, all right, because they can connect with your students at a very deeper level. Okay, and Mercury also makes these people very business savvy, who are capable of starting their own home based business. Okay, so people will tend to gravitate these people will actually tend to gravitate towards writing or reporting about your homeland or politics related to their homeland. Okay, and they're very compassionate towards friends and other people, which makes them great psychologists and therapists. Okay, you can often come across a therapist who has a deep understanding of what people actually want. So these are people with Mercury in the fourth house, right? So Mercury in the fourth house aspects the 10th house of career and status. And Mercury is very, very curious about taking the elements of the fourth house and transforming it into a career. Okay, so that is the reason I said that in the fourth house, Mercury actually gives a home based career or home based business. Okay, so after the pandemic period, a lot of work from home jobs have come up. So this is the result of of Mercury being in the fourth house or in the 10th house. Okay, so these people want to teach or consult from home, which can also make them great astrologers. Okay, and Mercury, as we know, it is the karaka for communication and speech. So it makes the native make use of political and government issues to rise to prominence. Okay, they are also very good managers. Okay, and they have an interest of managing people from home. Okay, like a psychologist or a therapist. Okay, and what they want to do is that they want to use logic in the house of maternal emotions to create a business out of it. All right, so Mercury is always about business. It's always about the money. Okay, now, Mercury in the fifth house, very good position for Mercury to be, because the fifth house is the house of learning. It is the house of mantras. So Mercury in the fifth house, it gives very good memory. Okay. And it aspects the 11th house of gains, hopes, wishes, network circles, and elder siblings. So what is the fifth house? It represents education, entertainment, performing arts. Okay. So these people, they are natural actors and writers, because really sorry, because the fifth house is the house of cinematic cinematic talent. Okay, and they'll also have a flair of writing, flair for writing books and scripts. Okay, and the fifth house is the third from the third house, so it causes a great urge in these natives for stage performance and speaking. Okay, so fifth house is also the house of romance. So if you are in romance, if you're romancing someone, it requires you to be very creative and a good performer, and that is what Mercury does. Okay, so Mercury makes a person extremely romantic with passion for communication and love. Okay, and this is the place where Mercury actually becomes a child, because the fifth house is the house of children. Okay, so these people mature quite late in life, because the child inside them refuses to grow up. But then these people will have extremely good abilities to communicate with children, and this is true even if Mercury is debilitated. Okay, so if Mercury is debilitated, it will tend to bring more imagination into raising children than logic, which actually works well. Okay, and these people have very talkative offsprings, and they like to express the overall intelligence on the basis of artistic expressions. Okay, so fifth house is also the house of gambling. So Mercury provides great speculative abilities to the native. Okay, especially while dealing with the stock market and sports betting. Okay, and this quality is enhanced if Mars or Jupiter are actually in conjunction or aspecting Mercury. Okay, so from the fifth house, Mercury will aspect the 11th house, and because Mercury is aspecting the 11th house. So through the artistic talent and flair for romance in the 5th house, this Mercury will have the curiosity to network with people and communicate with large organizations regarding their talent. Okay, and if some politician has Mercury in the 5th house, okay, so these people will actually tend to give politically charged speeches because the 5th house is the house of politics. Okay, and the 11th house is the house of large organizations. Okay, and they can use their written words and ability to perform on stage. Okay, and also earn money from it. Right. So overall, there is a great need in these natives to communicate with their network circles about art, writing, and stories. Okay, then Mercury in the 6th house. Again, this is a good position for Mercury to be. Okay, because 6th house is the original house of Virgo, and here people acquire an ability to solve problems with their intelligence. Okay, but then Mercury in the 6th house aspects the 12th house of losses, spirituality, foreign lands, jails, hospitals, monasteries, and meditation. Okay, and what does the 6th house represent? It represents diseases, enemies, obstacles, small animals, pets, crime, litigation, and disagreements. So Mercury does very well in the 6th house. It has the ability to turn disagreements into agreements. Okay, because 6th house is the original exalted point. 6th house is the original exalted space of Mercury. Okay, because the original 6th house is ruled by Virgo. All right. So in the 6th house, Mercury is able to analyze and focus on tiny details with respect to filing, financial bookkeeping, and medicine. Okay, because you'll see most people with Mercury in the 6th house can actually become doctors. Okay, and Mercury, as I said, in the 6th house, Mercury becomes the mediator of solving problems between people. He wants to settle litigation and disputes. Okay, this Mercury will understand the details and logic behind medicine and how to prescribe drugs as needed. Okay, and as I said, these natives will always try to solve conflicts or diseases through speech and communication. Okay, but then because Mercury is the planet of analytical ability and awareness, these people can actually suffer from anxiety if Mercury is weak or debilitated. Okay, because for these people, just one bad move due to their overly active Mercury can actually make a whole situation chaotic. Okay, and because Mercury is the eternal businessman, so these people tend to work as solo. Okay, instead of working in groups. All right, and then even when they work in groups, they will actually be plagued by arguments and disagreements with business partners. Okay, so this is a good placement to have for lawyers. But then even if you have this placement as a lawyer, and even if Mercury is exalted, you need to refrain from getting into arguments, because then you can be cheated by siblings. Okay, Mercury also represents our nervous system. Okay, and in the house of disease, there can be a nervous breakdown which can lead to arguments. Okay, such a nervous breakdown can also lead to hospitalization, deaths, and it can also lead to betrayal. Okay, so in the 6th house, Mercury aspects the 12th house, and since Mercury is tied to conflict and taking care of other people's health in the 6th house, it is drawn to the peace and quietude of isolated places. Okay, so these people are ones who are comfortable in working as therapists or doctors inside hospitals and even jails. Okay, and what happens is because of the troubles they get from the 5th house, they have a fantasy to escape to foreign or unknown places. Okay, and this is actually a great combination for an author who uses obstacles in life to create a story that takes characters into isolated places. Okay, and there is also a need in these natives to communicate on behalf of underprivileged people who face poverty. Okay, so these people have the desire to speak about harsh conditions in society and spread their messages to foreign people and foreign lands. All right, so next we have Mercury aspecting the 1st house. That means Mercury in the 7th house. So again, not a very good placement for Mercury to be in, because 7th house is the house of marriage and Mercury is the kid. He is the eternal learner. Okay, so in the 7th house, Mercury aspects the 1st house. What does the 1st house represent? It represents self, personality, body, and health. Okay, and in the 7th house, Mercury becomes the mediator of agreements, business partnerships, and other people. Okay, so these people have a tremendous, knack of communicating with business partners and their spouse. Okay, in marriage, they'll actually look at the financial situation of the spouse and then agree to it. Okay, and even in, even after they've agreed to the marriage, they actually need a lot of intellectual stimulation and a deep friendship with their spouse. Okay, these people are, are eternal talkers. They would want to talk a lot in their relationship so that it keeps them on their toes. All right, and they also get such spouses. They can get managers or writers or teachers as spouses. Okay, so this placement can actually be very sexual if Mercury is in the sign of Scorpio or Gemini. Okay, and it is one of the best placements for business, trade, or communication with the masses. Okay, Mercury in the seventh house can also produce an attorney since it requires good communication and negotiating skills. And these are the people who are very diplomatic towards other people and are comfortable making friends with strangers. Okay, so in the seventh house, Mercury aspects the self, which is the first house. So, one's personality is dedicated towards other people. Okay, so their whole life becomes about business and trade, and their spouse will also become a part of their business life, maybe their business partners. All right, as I said, the native is very charming and talkative, and Mercury in the seventh house can actually make one very curious about their own personality. Okay, because they see themselves through others and their legal matters. Right, these people have a very flirtatious, talkative, and business oriented personality where everything is done with the motive of earning profit. Okay, again, Mercury in the eighth house, very good placement for Mercury to be. Okay, so from the eighth house, Mercury aspects the second house of family, wealth, speech, food, assets, and ancestry. Okay, so in the eighth house, Mercury becomes the messenger of secrets, occult knowledge, assets after marriage, spouses, family, and so on. All right, so the native has has an intellect which is focused on discovering hidden secrets of the world, government, or their own personality. Okay, we also know that the eighth house is about fluctuations. It can cause a quarrel between siblings, especially younger ones and friends. Okay, and Mercury in the eighth house is an excellent indicator for wealth and money management. Okay, because these people after their marriage they can receive a tremendous inheritance or profit from joint assets with their spouse, with their spouse. Okay, and as a natural manager, Mercury becomes, Mercury can give rise to profession like being tax agents for the government or a financial advisor. Okay, they will also have a tendency of writing about ghosts, aliens, or the occult world if Mercury is located in an air or watery sign. Okay, so from the eighth house, Mercury aspects the second house, and Mercury, by this aspect, Mercury makes the native very, very curious about the family. Okay, they want to experience transformation through, through secrets of the family, and they know how to manage their assets. Okay, so information is exchanged between family members about secrets and the occult that are intellectually stimulating for the native. Okay, so these people will have a tendency to communicate with friends on a regular basis. For example, if someone has gone out for studies, that person will always give a call, to their home every time or on a regular basis, whether or not it is important. Okay, and if Mercury is debilitated here, then these natives may experience anxiety from sudden fluctuations. Okay, so a debilitated Mercury will make the intelligence of the native suffer due to unnecessary fear of the unknown. Okay, so next we have Mercury in the ninth house, which aspects the third house. So in the ninth house, Mercury aspects the third house of initiative, willpower, communication, business, media, hobbies, skill, art, and marketing. Okay, and what is the ninth house? It's about higher knowledge and philosophy. Okay, and Mercury, it's a very logical and analytical planet that wants to create structure in the house of higher learning. Okay, so these are the people who would actually want to organize all religious scriptures and put them in compartments. Okay, and when it comes to preaching, these people have super communication abilities. Okay, they are easily able to sell God to people through their quick and witty thinking. All right, so you can see the chart of ISKCON founder Srila Prabhupada to understand the impact of Mercury in the ninth house. Okay, and then because Mercury is the eternal learner, it needs it needs guidance to understand the true nature of higher learning. Okay, which only takes place in the presence of a guru, right? And these people, they usually tend to think that the oration of scriptures is one what that defines higher philosophy, and it can actually make them very narrow-minded about religion and culture. Okay, so this placement is great for a PhD holder, but it is not correct, or it is not right for a theologist without without the aspect or conjunction of Jupiter or Venus. Okay, so you need Mercury to be aspected or to be conjunct Jupiter and Venus if you have to move beyond the scriptures, right? So Mercury from the ninth house, it aspects the third house. So Mercury is the eternal businessman, and uses the advantage of higher knowledge and philosophy to direct his siblings and close friends towards its value. Okay, towards his value, that is. So these natives through their higher knowledge can willfully gain through business and marketing. Okay, and third house, it represents media, journalism, crafts, and hobbies. And all these representations make Mercury put a religious and philosophical spin on art and reporting. Okay, so this combination can actually make one a media or a savvy preacher, or motivational speaker. I'm sorry, motivational speaker who uses the media to share the word of God. Okay, so the speech and writing style of these natives will have a touch of the divine word. All right, so Mercury in the 10th house, it is not good, it is not bad, it's an average, it's an average placement, but these people are very good at making short-term plans. Okay, so in the 10th house, Mercury aspects the 4th house of home, motherland, maternal nourishment, childhood, and comforts. Okay, so Mercury does good in the 10th house of career, but it can make a people unable to see the bigger picture. Okay, so this is a placement for managers or businessmen, and depending upon which sign Mercury is placed in, it will bring about communication. Okay, Mercury does very good if the 10th house is ruled by earth signs, because in earth signs, Mercury can easily become an accountant or government administrator or financial advisor or supervisor. Okay, so it can also, 10th house Mercury can also produce a writer in water or air signs. Okay, in fire signs, Mercury is a dynamic communicator like an actor or politician. Okay, so since Mercury is multidimensional, one can become many things at once. Okay, so they can be teachers, lawyers, or even language experts. The organizational ability and attention to detail makes one a very good secretary or public relations agent. Okay, so these people are the most flexible when it I'm sorry, I've lost a connection, I suppose. Just a minute. Yeah, sorry about this, about the interruption. Okay, so as I was saying, these people are the most flexible when it comes to dealing with professional friends and individuals. They have a pleasant reputation unless Mercury is sitting with a malefic. Okay, because if Mercury is with a malefic like Mars, it can give very harsh speech that can turn off people. Okay, so this position of Mercury also shows a lot of communication between the native and their father, and it can actually produce a parent. That means it can actually produce a father who may be an entrepreneur or an executive. Okay, so Mercury from the 10th house will aspect the 4th house, and Mercury's professional communication and speech curiously transforms into a focus on the home. Okay, so just like the 4th house placement of Mercury, here too, the the mother of the native may be a businesswoman or a teacher. Okay, so Mercury is driven by status. All right, so such a Mercury can actually want to make his home also his workplace. All right, they want to take government messages to the people of their homeland. So it can also give a career as a press secretary who updates government workers with information. Okay, so the business-like communication style of these natives, it fills their home, but at the same time, it is energized with ideas. Okay, and it can also give rise to a situation where many professional people can actually gather at the residence of these people. Okay, so Mercury in the 11th house, it aspects the 5th house of entertainment, education, children, creativity, romance, and ancient scriptures. Okay, so from the 11th house, what does the 11th house represent? It represents hopes and wishes, large network organizations, and monetary gains. Okay, so these people, they can become social magnets. Okay, because Mercury finds it very easy to communicate and connect with others. Okay, it becomes the link in introducing two people, like a matchmaker or maybe a business development strategist. Okay, so there is a great need to communicate with large organizations and corporations. Sometimes it can also produce great motivational speakers in the financial arena. Okay, So all the people that you see involved in the network marketing business like Amway or any other product, it can actually happen due to Mercury in the 11th house. Okay, so even in the house of global connections and science, Mercury wants to use its intellect to for the betterment of the world through economic and scientific growth. Okay, and depending upon which sign Mercury is placed in, it will either make a person think on a more economic or scientific level. Okay, so this is a great position to have if you are a financial analyst or a travel agent, okay, or even a talent agent, right? So these people can actually think broadly even if they are close-minded due to aspects or sign placements. Okay, so from the 11th house, Mercury aspects the 5th house, and through its network, Mercury is able to gain and enjoy from life. Okay, it wants to dive into the world of creativity, playfulness, and romance. So Mercury has a lot of resources. Okay, Mercury in the 11th house gets a lot of resources which it utilizes for studies, fun, games, and love, right? So Mercury is very, very curious about gambling earnings in the stock market, poker, and sports betting. Okay, so it not only makes the person very social, it also makes him or her very charming and artistic. Okay, and these are the people will always tend to use creativity to engage with large organizations. Okay, so Mercury in the 12th house, not a very good placement for Mercury to be. Okay, in the 12th house, it aspects the 6th house of deaths, diseases, enemies, litigations, disagreements, small animals, and underprivileged people. So in the 12th house of imagination, spirituality, foreign lands, jails, and hospitals, these people can use their intellect and analytical abilities to bring logic to an isolated world. All right, so in the 12th house, it can actually make one an intuitive and imaginative thinker. So these ideas are initially abstract, but then Mercury makes them tangible. Okay, so Mercury, who is also the great communicator and storyteller, it loves to create spiritual concepts and tales of other realms. So this placement is actually ideal for novelists and writers. Okay, so their intellect is aided by other dimensions if they concentrate and meditate, right? And this can actually make one a communicator of spirituality, meditation, yoga, and foreign affairs. Okay, so Mercury actually becomes a mediator between the modern world and the hidden world. Okay, but such a mediator can actually make one feel like a loner, okay, who is lost in his or her own world of thoughts and imaginations. Okay, so from the 12th house, Mercury aspects the 6th house, and through the process of imagination and spiritual healing, Mercury wants to help people of lower realms of the 6th house. Okay, so what this Mercury wants is that it wants to resolve conflicts by providing a bite of spiritual knowledge and words of wisdom. Okay, so Mercury becomes very curious about helping people who cannot help themselves. Okay, it wants to become a beacon of hope for those who are diseased. All right, and if it is placed in earth sign, especially in the sign of Virgo, Mercury can actually show a spiritual healer or a doctor. Okay, sometimes these people can actually suffer from intellectual setback due to their imagination and desire to be involved with those who struggle with mental disturbances. That means they have a possibility of inheriting the karma of the people whom they are healing. Okay, and because the 12th house is the house of imagination, so this house of imagination, that is the 12th house, wants to create a story of tremendous obstacles. Okay, so this is about the aspects of Mercury through the houses. All right, go through the video and leave your valuable comments or valuable feedback in the comment section. I really look forward to them. And like this content, subscribe to my channel, and should you have any queries, you can always reach out at the number which is provided in the description box. Okay, so that's it from me in this video. I'll see you very soon with another video. Om Gurave Namaha.